All right, Heidi Giokos, our reporter, monitoring that story, but she's also going to speak to us about this one, so we'll come back to her in a moment. Now, the country is waiting with bated breath this evening to see if it loses its remaining investment grade. Moody's is the only one of three major ratings agencies holding South Africa on investment grade. Moody's will take into account the general health of the economy, growth prospects, and the effects of the power crisis on the economy. A downgrade or a negative outlook will make it more expensive for the country to borrow money. Some analysts believe the ratings agency could hold fire until South Africa holds its general elections on May 8th. Well, let's get reaction to the story now. eNCA's business reporter Heidi Giokos is also monitoring this one. Hard at work today, Heidi, on a Friday. Well done. So Moody's is set to make a decision later tonight. Not a good time for South Africa for a number of reasons, especially when it comes to load shedding. What are some of the black marks against South Africa that could lead to a negative decision by Moody's?
Well, Shahan, the biggest thing for any rating agency, whether it's Moody's, Fitch or S&P, which are the big three rating agencies that give outlooks or gradings, is growth. That is the biggest one that they look at, whether to see if the country is growing at the rate that it should be growing, if a number of jobs are being created. And given the fact that South Africa is not growing at the rate expected, this obviously puts a big black mark against South Africa and our economy, as well as struggling to keep our lights on. You must understand that if South Africa cannot keep its lights on and Eskom is struggling to deal with the electricity capacity, this directly impacts businesses, which will directly impact growth for South Africa. So a major thing that Moody's will be looking at is how South Africa is trying to deal with the electricity crisis. We do know that Eskom has been in trouble for a very long time, a number of bailouts given to Eskom. I mean, previously SAA was a big problem for rating agencies about how there's constant bailouts to these state-owned entities, and now you have Eskom not able to give South Africans enough electricity, which directly impacts the way businesses operate, which will obviously impact the growth of the country and jobs. So that will be a major point and a major threat to our rating.
So surely there must be some positives happening that could help us not being downgraded.
Exactly. So it's always important to look for the silver lining. But a major thing that was previously looked at and downgraded on previously from rating agencies on South Africa was our SOEs and the state of governance in these state-owned entities. And as you know, there's a Zondo Commission and various commissions that have been taking place to deal with the corruption in South Africa when it comes to state-owned enterprises. And that is a positive that could possibly work in our favor, given the fact that South Africa has made inroads in dealing with the corruption, dealing with the state of our government entities. So that could possibly work in our favor.
And then what happens if we are actually downgraded? What will this mean for South Africa and South Africans?
You must remember that Moody's is the only rating agency that has not put us into junk status. And possibly there could be four things that could happen. It could be that we are not downgraded and nothing happens, there's no announcement, and Moody's is just looking out as to what South Africa is going to do. Or there could be an outlook to negative, or we could be completely downgraded, which will then mean that South Africa will be kicked out of a bond index market, which will mean that South Africa, it will be very difficult for investors to invest into our bonds, which will have a direct impact on the rand, weakening the rand. So not a good move if we are downgraded. It will just put South Africa in a very difficult position in terms of future investment and put further strain on our fiscus. So hopefully it's just an outlook and not a negative one. And the rating agency just waiting to see what South Africans are going to do also ahead of an election time.
Nicely unpacked. Thanks for that. Appreciate it, Heidi Giokos.